Here's some of the other headlines, and we're going to Larry Pratt, who just joined us, the head of Gun Owners of America, the chairman. Arizona Senate panel passes bill barring enforcement of federal gun measures. So some good news. Wyoming House approves bills exempting state from federal gun control measures. Yeah, the state's getting legally let illegal aliens run around above the law. How about they just let the Constitution stay in place and actually follow their oath? See, the oath means null and void stuff that's unconstitutional. That's why we have juries, too, to judge the facts as well as the law. Doesn't matter if the judge says, the law says this, put him in jail, I order you. That judge is a tyrant fraud in a black robe. Here's another one. Super Bowl fans to face mandatory TSA pat-downs. They've got those going on in Austin now on South Lamar. You're not touching me, by the way. I'm done. Over 1,000 Green Berets, mentioned that. Doctors kill 2,450% more Americans than all gun-related deaths combined. Great article by Mike Adams from naturalnews.com up at prisonplanet.com right now. And again, vast majority of gun owners would defy ban. Poll shows, yeah, New Yorkers are going public, saying, I'm not turning my guns in. Gun shop owners are going public. They're going public. People say, don't go public. Why, they'll get you. You'll be on a list. Good. Look, I'm public. You're the criminals. You're the people saying George Washington's bad and the Second Amendment's bad and I should fight off an attacker with scissors. Now, joining us is Larry Pratt, head of Gun Owners of America, gunowners.org. Hadn't been on in a few weeks. I wanted to get his breakdown on the semi-auto ban, the fact that it would make the quote, officials, the authorities, our masters, not servants, exempt. I mean, that's a title of nobility, and other key bills and attacks that we're facing and what these executive orders mean. He's one of the busiest liberty fighters, somebody fighting for freedom out there. And we appreciate Larry Pratt joining us. Larry, give us the state of the Second Amendment in this Gun Owners Alert.
Oh, hi, Alex. It's really good to be with you. One thing I'd like to lead off with, there's an old saw among those of us who fight to protect the Second Amendment that when guns are outlawed, only outlaws will have guns. Well, one of the examples that just popped up on the blogs today is a chap by the name of Jerome McClure, and he lives in Ohio in the Dayton area, and he's been rather prominent leading a demonstration against the easy availability of guns at gun shows. And yeah, I can see why the guy's concerned about folks like you and me having guns. He's a convicted rapist. Jerome McClure, the face of the anti-Second Amendment crowd. So I just had to share that. It is sometimes reality is just, who can make it up, right? Anyway, to the question of the bans, I think it's pretty clear, even from the hearing yesterday in the Senate, the Senate doesn't have the votes to ban neither guns nor magazines. I think, and I think it's actually a more sinister point of attack against us, is to make universal the background check. That way, if you can't even give to your neighbor, sell to your neighbor, give to your son, without going to a dealer and giving the dealer all that information for the background check, there's absolutely no way that we should be trusting the government with that information.
Well, it's de facto registration. I went and bought a .50 cal Barrett a few months ago, and the whole thing was in a computerized form. I mean, I feel most gun shops now, it's computerized in a government form. You know they're getting that info. I mean, you know, the NICS system is a background check and a registration that you're a gun owner right there.
Now, they're legally required to destroy the names after 24 hours. And, Alex, if you know somebody that believes that, I've got a real estate office that I'd like to have them come over and do some business
Well, haven't they been caught, memory serves, a few times actually keeping the names?
Of course. And the fact is they refuse to say that they are destroying the names. They don't, I guess, want to get caught in an outright lie, so they just hardball the thing. They will not say. Well, then there are times when, yes, they have done searches of their data, and it turns out, oh, yes, we ran a search. Well, how'd you do that if you're not destroying the name, if you are destroying the names after 24 hours. So if they get a gun registry, then it's all over, baby. That's when they can come. The next time Rahm Emanuel has one of his crises, well, it's time to collect the guns, Mr. and Mrs. America. We can't trust you anymore with your guns. And Dianne Feinstein's dream would be fulfilled, that if she'd had the votes, she could have gotten them all. Well, she'd know where to go if she had the registration system. And frankly, a government that'll send guns into Mexico and get Mexicans killed, hundreds of them at this point that we know of, we're going to trust them with our information about our guns protected by our Second Amendment, not theirs, ours. So, yeah, I think we're at a very crucial moment. And the fight, Alex, if I could ask people to make a call to their, well, right now they're senators, but also their representatives soon enough. I think we've got the bans pretty well under control, but where they're going to try to rope us is on the background check. That's where they're going to make the big play. If they get that, they've got the whole enchilada.
What about the issue of another mass shooting? I mean, they've already set it up where we're bad because we own guns. We are guilty of mass murder when someone else does something wrong. The collectivist Soviet style. Well, somebody in your neighborhood, you know, shot at one of the NKVD secret police. So now everyone in the neighborhood is being sent to a gulag. I mean, this is the new Soviet model. Or we're collectivized with health care. So now the government tells you what you can eat, what you can do. And yes, there's death panels for people overweight and death panels for people with genetic disorders. I mean, you know, we know their plan. What do we do with the next attack? How do we get back on the offensive and point out that these people have bodyguards and that these people wanted to be exempt where they can still own guns? Doesn't that fully discredit them?
I think that's one very, very important counterattack, and another one is kind of like unto it. We've been calling for the dismantling of the gun-free zones, particularly in schools. It's been in the gun-free zone where most of our mass murders have occurred, and it kind of makes you wonder if maybe that doesn't have something to do with it, you know? And so, happily, Representative Stockman, the first day, within probably the first hour or two, put in a bill, it's H.R. 35, that would do away with gun-free school zones.
While we fight to retain our liberty, while we fight to expose globalism, we have to realize we're talking about a very powerful combination of power.
Renowned author and expert Joel Skousen breaks down the globalist plan to shut down America and stage a new world war.
In one day, America will go from day to night. And if you haven't prepared in advance, there's not enough time to prepare in 24 hours, even if you saw it that early.
Coming to the InfoWar in November is our new documentary film presentation.
Strategic relocation is a systematic way to think strategically in the future about how do I safeguard.
Joel Skousen, Strategic Relocation.
The freeways are going to be crowded, they're going to run out of gasoline, they're going to run out of food, and then they're going to start to go north and south of those freeways.
Joel Skousen is renowned as one of the world's foremost experts in strategic relocation and the securing of your home.
We talk about natural disasters, the health environment, we talk about pollution, the water quality. My personal experience about being in every one of these states.
Government is digging in for the organized, incremental collapse of society and world war.
The U.S. isn't building huge underground bases and bunkers because of some terrorist threat. They know that a massive nuclear attack is coming. They want that attack to come. Most people won't even be ready and won't be able to get out of town when any of these nuclear weapons fall, because there'll be absolute panic.
There is no preparedness without strategy.
What I tell people is that you do have time. Prepare wisely in advance.
This Christmas, give the gift of preparedness. Strategic Relocation, the film, with Joel Skousen and Alex Jones. Of Gun Owners of America, gunowners.org, is the #1 defender of the First Amendment out there. There are a lot of the great people like Ted Nugent and others, and of course I count myself amongst the defenders of it, and I'm proud of that. That is the pure Americana heritage. Our new issue of the magazine just came in off the truck. The last 2 issues sold out in way before the month was over. I'll tell you about this in the next segment. It's The Tyrants, Why the Tyrants Want Your Guns. The new issue is about 80% Second Amendment key info. The 5 minutes we've got left with Larry Pratt, you were talking about Steve Stockman, the Texas congressman that you said, wait till he gets in Congress. He's going to go on the offense. Tell us about that legislation and how we get that rammed through and grab victory from the jaws of defeat.
Well, it took him about an hour the first day, and he had H.R. 35 to show for it. And this is legislation that would overturn the school zone gun bans. And as we know, it's every single one of our mass murders in the last 20 years, with one exception, was in a legally required no-gun zone. And it just kind of makes you wonder if maybe these dirtbags don't have that figured out going in. So we got to get rid of them. Stockman's right on that, and we're just very grateful that somebody with his energy and determination is willing to lead on the fight.
Now, President Obama, as you know, last Sunday came out, and we played the clips here, and I'm sure you saw it. He said, look, gun owners need to listen to me a little more carefully. I support the Second Amendment. I love to skeet shoot. It's in the news today. He's never gone skeet shooting except for one photo op. It's kind of like his clip of saying, I'll never come after your handguns, your rifles, your shotguns, your semi-autos, none of it. So the incredible disdain and lying, how he tries to play possum with people. And we've also seen the red coat, Piers Morgan, say, oh, I've lost the gunfight. I've seen them play possum more than once. I mean, we know what the bills do. What do you make of this double game where they go, we don't want your guns. We've just introduced all the bills to do it. Meanwhile, Schumer and all of them are saying we need to lean on gun manufacturers and retailers not to sell semi-auto. I've now talked to 3 separate gun dealers. One of them I know personally who've had the ATF come in and say, why don't you stop selling these and we'll go nice with you. How do we deal with the extrajudicial attacks? But that's B. A, what do you make of this playing possum?
That is just not to be believed, and the operative word is playing. It's not for real. These guys clearly are on a crusade, and when they're doing that to gun dealers, they're also doing something else, and this is why we've never agreed with the 4473 form being required. We've never agreed with the background check being required. The ATF agents are we're getting multiple reports going into stores, either making copies or scarfing up 4473 forms that everybody has to fill out when they buy a gun at a store. And whether they bring them back or not, we haven't heard, but they're taking them so they can obviously make copies. They want to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. They want a registration list. And there's only one thing governments do with registration lists. They don't fight crimes with them because they're not useful as crime-fighting tools. But they are useful for one thing. They know where the gun owners are. And, maybe you only bought say an AR-15 through a dealer, and you bought handguns and shotguns privately from people you knew or at a flea market or whatever. Once they know you've got one gun, they don't think they're going to stop with the one. When they come to your house, they're going to want to search the whole place. They'll tear it upside down because we're criminals if we own a gun. That's their mentality. We must stop this drive for a universal background check. Alex, that is going to be the gunfight of 2013, whether or not they can complete their grab for every gun owner's data through the instant background check for everybody. Even if it's father giving a gun to a son, they're saying, oh, that's got to go have an instant background check. Yeah, really.
Larry, are you getting intel on the same thing that I'm hearing, that they're I mean, we know Schumer said, let's go lean on the gun dealers and make them not sell these, and that's public statements. He and others have said that. Are you getting the reports I'm getting that the ATF's saying, why don't you not sell these?
We're getting all kinds of reports. The ATF seems to be in hyperactivity, such as they weren't even in most of the last 4 years. A lot of this stuff is now ramping up now that Obama has been elected, doesn't have to ever run again for any political office. It's pedal to the metal. This is going to be a tough fight because this guy doesn't play fair. He doesn't care about the Constitution. He doesn't care about federal gun laws. All he wants is to make sure that he can accomplish his socialist agenda, and grabbing the guns is a big part of any socialist agenda.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
Now, speaking of people we're thankful for, I've read that now the NRA had 250,000 new members in the first month of this year, well, part of December into January, and that now it's over 350,000 new members. That's great, okay? But the NRA was founded by the federal government, and the NRA helped pass the 68 Gun Control Act. And I love Charlton Heston, interviewed him several times. He was even manipulated into supporting the 68 Gun Control Act. That's why he came out. That's why he came out so strong for the Second Amendment later, because he felt guilty about that, and he talked about that. Gun Owners of America's never sold out, never made mistakes, never backed down in their, I don't know, 30-something years of history. They're the second biggest gun group. They're the group. We don't need to hear about NRA as being the only group that represents gun owners and you know, is a default. We need to hear about gunowners.org. And Larry, I know you've gotten a lot of members. I know you didn't come on for this today, but we wouldn't probably have a Second Amendment if it wasn't for your organization and your members. So many times it's you guys that actually get the job done, and you forced the NRA to get more hardcore again. And I've got to say, the NRA has gotten better. You don't like to talk about the NRA. Can you briefly talk about the NRA, talk about how many new members you've gotten and the history of this and where we are right now? And then I've got a few other questions for you.
Well, we've had probably, I would say, could be a 20% increase in our membership. And there's the easiest way to understand the difference between the two groups is, and you alluded to it, the NRA was formed by Civil War veterans from the Union Army who were distressed about how poorly the Union recruits shot, many of whom had been Irish immigrants and probably didn't even know which end of a gun was which when they got drafted. And so the NRA was set up to make rifle awareness and practice more commonplace, so that if there were another war, or when there was, that the United States could draw upon a better trained pool of men. So they were set up to help the government. About 100 years later, we were organized, Gun Owners of America, to oppose the government, to oppose the gun control that was beginning to be a regular topic of discussion in Washington. And after the 68 Gun Control Act, and you alluded to the fact that the NRA really hadn't been very effective in opposing that, that was kind of it. Our founder, a former California state senator, decided we needed a group that was going to oppose the government. And so those two different founding motives really kind of carry through even to today.
Well,
now,
time flies. So how long has Gun Owners been around? When was it founded?
We're in our 35th, 36th year now.
Yeah.
We're really delighted to see the way the growth has come, in part, I guess. Well, for one thing, a lot of your listeners have joined. That's been over the years, that's been kind of noticeable. Somebody will say, oh, you must have done Alex Jones today. The numbers spiked again tonight when people go online. And then Piers Morgan, bless his British heart, did his fair share to increase our membership, and we're very grateful to Piers Morgan. I think I'm not quite grateful enough to form a fan club, but I do have to acknowledge that even though he didn't intend it, it has, I think, frankly, not only did he help our membership and the NRA's membership, but I think he provided what we may look back and say, that was a pivotal moment when he started lecturing yours truly about how the United States ought to operate with that bloody, supercilious British accent of his. That just kind of fills most Americans right up to the gag point.
It certainly does. Well, gunowners.org, people need to go there and join, or at least sign up for the free email alerts that are absolutely vital. And again, I have seen you for years. I tried to get you to talk about the history of the NRA. You finally went at them both barrels, I don't know, about 6 years ago. And then they really have reformed themselves to a great extent. But I've got to say, I've studied history here. Gun owners of America, without you, we would have lost. And I know you don't like to toot your horn. You're a very restrained, calm guy. But Larry Pratt, be honest. Would we have lost most of these big battles if it wasn't for the members of Gun Owners of America supporting your system? Because I mean, you guys are the soldiers that have kicked the New World Order's butt. I mean, I gotta tell you, that's why I support you and sit here and drive for people to sign up with you guys. Because if we didn't have you, I think we would have lost. Am I incorrect?
I think our most successful lobbying accomplishment is when we can get the NRA to move in our direction. And now they are opposing the expansion of the background check to private sales, the very background check that was their idea to begin with. So that's
right.
Me, that's progress.
That's right.
It's not where it ought to be, but as long as we see forward movement, it means that over in the Congress, it's going to make it a lot tougher because they're not going to be able to say as easily, well, the NRA supports this piece of gun control, so what's your problem? So,
well, I mean, I've been following this. The reason I got on air was because they had bills to ban people under 18 being able to even shoot guns. It was going to ban shooting sports in Texas. And then I mean, so many draconian shut down gun shows. I got on the air. I mean, I had a hunger and went and took RTF and all of it because I wanted to defend the Second Amendment, not because I even am obsessed with guns. More obsessed with, hiking and stuff than I am guns or fishing. It's that I understand how important it is historically.
Yep.
And so that's why I followed the NRA standing there or even supporting stuff at the Texas level in the mid-'90s when you guys were there fighting tooth and nail with ragtag money. So that's why I'm just gushing over you, because I can authoritatively say we would have lost most of these battles if it wasn't for Larry Pratt and his leadership and what you guys have done. So I salute you. In closing.
I appreciate that. The gun-free school zone was something supported by the NRA. We opposed it. Now I think they've moved substantially, not entirely, but substantially to oppose that as well. As you know, our objective is to make it so a teacher, a janitor, anybody with a concealed carry permit could carry in a school. They're not going to be identified with a uniform. So a dirtbag comes in and tries to kill a lot of kids, they're going to find out that they don't even know where the next gun's going to be coming from, because there might be 2 or 3 in a school, and they're all going to be pointed at the dirtbag.
I remember many years ago they had concealed carry had just gone in, and I was listening to Dallas radio, and a guy, they had a bunch of carjackings. It was as violent as Chicago, some years more violent. And the carjacker on Central Expressway, it was stop-and-go traffic, he jumped out, ran to the lady's sports car, some kind of fancy car, and told her, get out. He was going to steal the car, and he had a gun, and a guy stopped behind him, got out and pumped 3 rounds into him. The guy fell over dead, and that was like 2 or 3 days after concealed carry officially went in. So there's an example right there. People say, oh, you'll never have your gun ready when the attack comes. Concealed carry is about the criminals don't know where it is. And it's
Alex, I bet that was the point where carjackings took a nosedive in Dallas.
Oh, yeah, they started dropping massively. In fact, they're unheard of now.
Duh. The criminals get the message pretty fast that their working environment just got a lot more dangerous. And that's the message we're trying to send to school mass murderers. You're working. We know you might want to commit suicide at the end, but we're going to keep you to 1 or 2 shots. How does that suit you?
Exactly. Like, you're not going to be able to kill 27 people. How about you shoot 1 or 2, and then we kill you?
That's exactly right. And that, I think, is a time, it is an idea whose time hopefully has come, and I'm just really excited that Steve Stockman did exactly what I hoped he would do. He's taken leadership. By the way, there's another Congressman, Massey from Kentucky, it seems to be pretty much of one mind with Stockman. He's got, I think, a similar identical bill in. So we've got more than one. This thing has its own momentum already. But what needs to be done now, if your listeners would please call get on Congressman Stockman's bill, H.R. 35. That's the next step in building momentum to get this past the leadership of the Congress that never wants to do anything controversial, and guns are always viewed as controversial, even though that's what gets Republicans elected, the dummies. So get on the horn, please. Call those members of Congress. Tell them to co-sponsor H.R. 35.
Absolutely. All right, Larry Pratt, final point here. When do we really get on the offensive? Because you're hardcore in defending the Second Amendment. But, look, I know the law. I've interviewed hundreds conservatively constitutional lawyers. I've studied it quite a bit. I know what racketeering is. I know what torturous interference is. I know what color of law is. I know what harassment is. If I tried to just verbally get people to pressure a bank to say get rid of all of their customers that are gun owners, or if I tried to put pressure on a sporting goods store to not sell a particular product, and I did things and said things and talked about trying to withhold money from them and lobbying against them, that would be torturous interference. When you have the mob boss of Chicago, and we're on Chicago right now talking to him, Rahm Emanuel, and you've got the mob boss Bloomberg, and you've got the Villalobos, the mob boss of L.A., all these guys and the mob bosses of San Francisco saying disarm the American people, take the guns while they've got bodyguards, lean on the banks, and banks are saying we don't want gun manufacturers, we don't want gun dealers. Time Warner, all their violent movies, they're out there saying that we won't take gun advertising on any of our cable systems. I mean, they're really trying, like the Nazis first embargoed Jews and others. That's how the tyranny starts, not letting them have businesses or harassing them. I mean, this is criminal. This is
one of the things that we can do to fight back, and that we've already seen a spate of bills go into a number of legislatures around the country, nullifying one and another, and sometimes many, anti-constitutional federal actions. And some actually say that they'll arrest a federal official who's trying to enforce an unconstitutional measure.
Yeah.
What we need then is to have a state or even a county in where a sheriff is willing to take them on, say, okay, in this bank, we love firearms manufacturers, and we'll be happy, assuming you got a good balance statement, to make you a loan. We'll be happy to do business with you. We'd rather you not be with Bank of America.
Exactly. Just like Christians put the little fish on their company. I think people need to start advertising their pro-Bill of Rights, period. Pro-Bill of Rights would have a certified group, meaning you support them all, and have the little symbol of the gun on there. I think it's saying, welcome, America. I mean, America was born out of self-defense. ProPure is introducing Pro One. All of your filtration in one system, portable, on the go. This is the Pro One by ProPure. You wanted it, you got it. No more do you have 2 or 3 filters to just reduce sodium fluoride. You have a system that cuts out the sodium fluoride and up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. Advanced manufacturing technology combines silver-impregnated white ceramic with new Aquamedics advanced media for removal of fluoride and other heavy metals, all in one filter element. It cuts out the acid derivative of fluoride. It is the only one that does it, and out of the gates, we have it discounted at 10% off with promo code WATER. This is the only system that in one unit helps reduce or remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, ammonia, and chlorine, hydrofluorosilicic acid, the most common form of fluoride not covered by other fluoride filter brands, and sodium hexafluorosilicate. This is a revolution against the tyrants. They love putting the toxic acid base of fluoride into your water. They love the fact that it's an adjuvant supercharging the trace Prozac in the water and the hormones and the other chemicals. By cutting out fluoride, you cut out the turbocharger in all the poison being artificially introduced into your body. This is what I use. It's a win-win. You get a high-quality product at the lowest price. You support the InfoWar. Get your ProPure with the new Pro One filter today at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139. let's block the door, and then the person comes knowing they're all hiding and shoots them in a fetal position. Why not? Concealed carry holders statistically have dropped crime 49% in the last 20 years, FBI numbers. So we suggest you have a company shooting club to ensure that on the off chance, 1 in 10 million, that someone goes crazy, others are there to equalize their bad activity. I mean, that's what they should be saying, correct?
Yes, and when they encourage many people in the the workplace to be armed, they're really making it so that the person that might have, quote-unquote, gone crazy will just probably be able to restrain himself because he'll realize that that kind of crazy isn't going to go anywhere.
Absolutely. And if you look at the MO of these guys, they love the helplessness of little kids and knowing no one can stop them. And on record, a lot of times they urinate on themselves when the police get there and kill themselves or wait to be killed. I mean, it's the same. They're always, the last 4 or 5 guys were all devil worshipers in a row. I mean, why aren't we profiling devil worshipers?
Devil worshippers who overdid video games, and I did say overdid. I didn't say use them at all, but overdid video games, just like you can overdo booze or food or anything else. And so those are common elements in these attackers. And I think we better come to grips with that, make sure our kids and our grandchildren are, if they got some of these video games, that they're maybe an hour or 2 a week, rather than 3 or 4 a day.
Sure. What about suing Rahm Emanuel and Bloomberg? They're always suing gun makers and gun manufacturers and publishing our names. What about suing them for torturous interference? And I believe it's racketeering. I mean, when they get together as cities to try to overthrow our Bill of Rights and Constitution and tell us we're bad and tell us they're going to lean on gun dealers until they stop selling guns, I mean, that is a gangster tactic.
Well, and one response can certainly be what Texas has already done and has told firearms manufacturers, hey, like up in New York and in Connecticut, the environment politically there pretty nasty for you. Y'all come down here.
Yeah, why doesn't Remington leave Connecticut and come right down here?
That's right. Y'all be welcome here. We'll keep the light on.
All right, Larry, give out the number for folks that don't have computers so they can call and sign up. Tell them how much it is to support the tip of the spear in the defense of the Republic.
Well, for $20, you can do what Alex is saying, folks. Call 888-888-6 guns. That's 888-886-GUNS. And then for everybody else, it's gunowners.org.
And what does Ron Paul say about you? The only no-compromise Second Amendment lobby. Larry Pratt, thanks for the time. We've got you back on the Nightly News Monday. Have a great weekend coming up.
You too, my friend. Thank you very much.
Wow, amazing guy. He's so polite. Tell him bye for me. All right, folks, that is an amazing individual right there. I've been in the fight for 20 years. I can tell you, I've been there 100 times or more. Without that guy, you would not have most of your guns right now. They've already taken them all in Australia, but bolt action, single shot, they're now trying to ban them. It's the same thing. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.